Welcome back to Launch Your Light, a podcast that covers the soul and strategy of running a business and sharing your heart's work with the world. Oh my me, do we have a guest on the call for you today? I can't wait to dive into these topics. We are going to speak with Sherri, who is an executive and entrepreneurial women's ADHD coach with a passion for helping high achieving ADHD women sort through the bottlenecks in their personal and professional systems. Oh, baby, do we need you right now, Sherri? Using her signature three-pronged holistic approach, she empowers her clients to regain control of their lives, align with their values, and maximize their efficiency and presence at work and home. Yes, you help with, oh my God, the list of things you help with. We're going to talk about that. And you're using AI as a tool in this work. So I
Yeah.
am just really excited to have you on the show here today, Sherri. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
Yes.
It's so
Okay.
fun.
Let's dive in because I know you and I are going to go all over the place in this call. So I'll try to I'll pull
Forward
us
to the
out.
challenge.
But okay, how did you arrive to becoming like an ADHD expert? I feel like.
Well, I would say it's mostly through, yes, I have professional training, but it's mostly through my personal experience that brought me to loving and wanting to help through that work. I got diagnosed with ADHD, not as an adult, much as a kid, as many, similar to many women who are adults in general, men too, but I focus on women in my ADHD coaching. But similar to many women who get diagnosed as adults, I was able to get through. I was actually a very good student growing up, and I was able to get through. And then in around college and grad school, like there was things where, for instance, I share this a lot, is like I did every paper. I started like paper that was due at 8 in the morning, 9 in the morning the next day would start at midnight the night before, including the research.
Oh,
And
yep.
I would be so stressed out of my mind. And I'd be like, oh, if I only did this, I'd say this every time, if I only did this an hour a day for 12 days or 10 days, then I would have not had this stress. And besides that, like for the 3 weeks before or 4 months before, I couldn't even enjoy like I'd be out with friends or doing whatever it was that I was doing that wasn't the paper. And I couldn't enjoy it because in the back of my head, I wasn't really fully present, because in the back of my head, I'd always be like, oh, I should be doing this paper. I need to do the paper. Like, this is one example of many.
Yeah.
Long story short, I do the paper with a fire under my ass. I'd get an A, and then I'd feel this huge sense of relief. And I'd be
Mhm.
like, okay, next time I'm gonna do it different. And then I wouldn't. And then and then I finally, this is my second year of grad school. I'm getting to a point. Hence this topic. My second year of grad school, which was almost the end of grad school, I came to the realization one day that if that, you know what, I'm never gonna do the paper 12 days in advance, an hour a day. I'm not gonna do that. And in accepting that and
Mm.
being like in accepting the reality of how I behave and what I am and I'm not gonna do, changed everything. Because then I still wrote the paper the night before, it was still stressful, but the other month before, 3 weeks before, wasn't, because I was honest with myself. And that's uh actually the crux of much of my work, is that it's not the proper time management tool, the right planner, journal. That's not
Right.
the key to your ADHD answer.
Right.
That you're gonna buy another journal and you're gonna do 2 pages of it and you're never gonna use it again. And we all have like 15 of them. And I still do that. I still try to look for the perfect tool. But that's not the answer. The answer, and that's how I work with a lot of people, is with women, is that three-pronged holistic approach. It's the mind and the body stuff that's actually, I believe, much more. Yes, the not the body and spirit stuff, and by spirit I mean acceptance and honesty with yourself and
Yeah.
self-compassion. That's the stuff that propels you through healing, not healing, but through managing your ADHD, versus the time management tools. I do all that too, but that's not going to be your answer. We all tried that 100,000 times. So I got there through my own experience and and then, professional training too, but really the reason is because I feel like I get this.
Mhm.
And I think it's very helpful. I don't believe people, sorry, I'm going to shut up, but I,
No, you're here. It's for you. We're talking to you.
I don't believe that people have to have exact same experience. Well, no one has the exact same experience, but I don't believe people have to have, you can't help somebody who doesn't have your experience.
Right.
I think that you can, but I think that when you really get it because you have experienced it personally as well as professionally, it takes it to a next level. That you might, I mean, it's kind of like parenting is similar. Like, yes, somebody who doesn't a parent could give good parenting advice, but they can't really give as like there's some next level to somebody who's a parent. And again, it's not to say that everyone's experiences are the same, but there's something that you get when you've been through it that you can, it's just a new level, another layer of the onion of, I don't know, getting it that I think is useful.
Yeah. My next question to you is, did you niche into this from the get-go, or did you work with other, like, let's say more normative situations? You know what I mean? Like neuronormative. I don't know. I know there's
Typical
other
race.
neurotypical people. And then you were like, no, 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 I need my ADHD girls. You know what I mean? Like, how did that go?
I actually niched into it very relatively recently in the past year. I was kind of working more as a generalist and on a business note, you're a business
Yep.
on a business level. I know everyone says, or not everyone, but they say like niche because if you are marketing to everybody, you're marketing to nobody, type of thing. I did all the, I'm a therapist by training, and so I did all the anxiety. I'm also you mentioned that you just did a show with a recovering heroin addict. I'm not I didn't, that wasn't my specific drug of choice, but I'm also in recovery for 27 years.
Ah,
You know,
beautiful.
I work with like people, a lot of sober people in recovery, about whatever issues come up. I work with adult daughters of narcissistic parents. There's a lot
Yeah.
of I, there was a big broad range of things, and I eventually came to this niche because it was the most fun.
Yeah.
I was having the most fun with my ADHD. I was running an ADHD group program for working moms. I was running an ADHD program for ADHD therapists such as myself. And those two programs, they were time, they was for a certain period of time. And those were the most fun I had. And I said niched in. I was
Great.
like, well, let's just do more of this.
So are you busy AF? Because I feel like I know we're laughing at, but like it's like everywhere we turn, people are waking up to understanding this is something they're experiencing, or maybe this is something they've had since childhood, right? So, woo, I feel like this is your time.
Yeah, it is a good time. I'm not gonna lie. And it's what I find interesting. It is busy. I'm actually starting a brand new cohort of March 1st or that week of a group coaching program. And the groups are really fun because there's so many for fun for me, but I think also for the group members because there's so many people who are are like, oh wait, okay, there's other this isn't just me, or aren't alone. There's that camaraderie of a group, and it offers other things like body doubling and so accountability, and then it also offers like half an hour one-to-one sessions as well as part of the group program. But that was just a little plug, but but I didn't mean to be. But
It's your show. You can talk about whatever you want.
I'm excited about it though, and
Yeah.
so it is busy and getting busier, and it's interesting because on a I know I hear a lot of, not a lot, but every so often I'll see people see online or people tell me, I mean everyone's got their views of course, and say, oh, you don't have to, the label, like, I don't want to use labels. And
Mhm.
I agree. I mean, there's 6 or 7 different types of ADHD, like, yes, there's inattentive, there's hyperactive, there's combination, but then there's also like, there's the type of ADHD where the majority of it is like that physical hyperactivity, and those people like need more exercise. And then there's the inattentive people and then there's the people who are like switchers and can't stop switching what they're doing. There's so many types. I won't get into the whole thing, but my point of this is, I agree, like labels can be constraining, but I think that for it can be very helpful just as context, so that we're
Yeah,
all talking about, okay, if I say I'm an ADHD coach, people know what that generally means,
right.
And so once you get into working together, that's not the point, is the label. I'm not, it's really like, where's your system broken?
Yeah.
Where, how do we find the bottlenecks in your life? We don't really talk after maybe the first time of like, what does the ADHD mind look like? What does this mean in terms of the way your dopamine levels are? But it's I just think the label is useful for coming in, and it contains this sense of not having your shit together for for your whole life. So
How many people experience that? My next question is like, okay, is there a way to test it? I think there's a lot of people who like see the behaviors and the patterns and they're like, ooh, that's probably me. And it's like a hot word too. People are like, oh, just
yeah.
saying they have it. And then there's people who are like, if you haven't tested and you don't know, then you don't know you have it, like the ADHD police. And I'm like, okay, all right, bro, calm down. You know what I mean? So, like, let's say you have someone coming to you. Do you have a process to take people through to like help them identify with that label if that's what they're looking for?
Yes. So I myself, I my feeling is people can work with me even if they don't have an official label. You can be 80. There's a woman who has an awesome podcast. Her name's Diane Winger, and her podcast is called ADHD-ish, and she's like an
Yes.
ADHD business coach, and she's really, I don't know her, but she's really cool. I'd like to know her. But anyway, but she calls it ADHD-ish, and I'm the same. People can work with, you don't have to have ADHD diagnosis. But if you want one, because for so many people, it is just so validating.
Right.
For so many people, it's super validating to know that it wasn't just, I just can't get my shit together over and over and over. And it's not like people with ADHD don't know what they should be doing. They cannot get themselves to do it for whatever various reasons. And so um with me, it's more of just interviewing based on symptoms. I tend to have a good track record of gauging, like even some random therapy clients who weren't coming to me around ADHD, who I've said, have you ever been tested for ADHD? And I'll send them for a neuropsych. So I partner with a number of neuropsych for people who want a formal diagnosis. I have a couple neuropsych people. Neuropsych's like a series of, it's a combination of like interviewing and then assessment scales, and then full on very gamified pattern recognition and all kinds of testing. Usually takes about 4 hours, and I have a couple people I partner with regularly. One's Dr. Madison White, another's this lady Barbara Burton, who I partner with sometimes just for if people want meds. There's other, but I often send people for full on neuropsychs, and I'm usually I'm not saying 100% accurate, but pretty accurate
Mhm.
um with that.
I would love to even hear the reaction to someone with ADHD hearing that they need to go take a 4-hour test.
That is a good. I only send people who want them. I
Right,
don't.
right.
Yeah, I do not send, because again, I think it's a very good point. Because like it's usually they do it, in all fairness, they do it online. The one person I use the most, or I partner with the most, she does, I think, either 2 hours at a time online like this,
Nice.
or
Yeah.
1 hour. I think she sometimes breaks it up into 1 hour sessions over the, it takes a while.
Yeah.
But yes, very valid
I
and
feel
very.
like that answer right there is like, okay, yeah, you got it. You don't want to sit there for 4 hours? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Okay, so since you're in this field, and I love to have like the nature versus nurture talk too,
Yeah.
right? Meaning, how much of this is genetics? And then how much is the science of us kind of exploring like our environments creating this? Everyone constantly behind screens, people not moving as actively as our ancestors used to. People what we're watching really fast changing video entertainment online on social media. Our kids are watching the cocoa melons, right? Where we've got screens changing every 2 seconds and this, like, how much you're in this science? How much do oof, I feel like we're really opening up a can of worms here, but what's your take on like the nature versus nurture here?
So, I am a believer. I am a person who believes in and tries to read research on every side of an issue, or tries to read research and opinions on every side of things, because I don't feel like I know where to get information that's the truth. I mean, any
Right,
study,
right,
um, and I'm not to get it, like any study you read, like is sponsored by somebody also.
right.
I
Yeah,
don't know. So I try to read in anything in news. I'm not in this too, like every side, and to try to formulate a picture. And so my belief is that it is a combination. I mean, and I know that's an annoying answer of like it's a very
oh
middle of a
yeah,
answer, but
I agree.
I think that there is a genetic component. There is a the ADHD brain, if you look at scans, is different.
Yep,
And I think there are genes, but then those genes, like epigenetically, get expressed differently
yep.
based on an environment. And so I don't know if you're familiar with Dr. Gabor Mate.
Oh yeah, baby.
Yeah. Oh, okay. So I don't know, he has, his whole book,
Yep.
Scattered Minds on ADHD, and many of the not the more allopathic medical experts really try to like cancel him and say, that's bullshit essentially. I personally I don't think it's all black or white. Yeah, yes, I think there's a genetic component. Obviously, I don't think that. I mean, it seems to be a thing based on brain scans and research and this stuff. And I don't know how you could possibly say that your environment, trauma, won't have your genes express it differently, or just, I mean, his theory is, just for your listeners who don't know, is that basically that it started as a way to distract yourself in a rough environment in your home, mostly, growing up, started as a way to kind of get yourself out of the environment you're in, by just distracting yourself. I'm really making this very simplified, but and then it kind of progresses into its own thing, into ADHD. And I think that personally, I don't see how that cannot be the case. That it can't be all or nothing. Like, of course, I mean, epigenetics is a real thing. Gene expression based on your
Yeah.
environment, both in utero and outside in your house growing up, is a
Yep.
thing. So, yeah, anyway, so I think it's a combination, and how bad it or good it, how, no, when I say bad or good, how many symptoms you're having at any given time
Hmm.
also is very much, I think, about your environment, both internally and externally, your stress levels. I mean, it's very, women going through menopause or hormonal changes, their symptoms go crazy,
Right.
and some of the brain fog, like forgetfulness, is that ADHD? Maybe not, maybe. If it is, if you have ADHD or ADD, and they don't call it that anymore, but if you have like ADHD and then you're going through menopause, the chances are, if you're not aware of it and doing anything to mitigate any symptoms, it's gonna go crazy and you're in a, I got burnt out about 5 years ago, really burnt out. My ADHD symptoms were off the wall. I, I mean, I've since healed and think I feel like a different person, and
Yeah.
that's, depending, and my environment at the time was very stressful. It was very, I wasn't managing it well. I didn't have good boundaries around my time, et cetera, et cetera. So I'd say it's a real combination.
You know what I've like data that I find fascinating is that by 2030, we will have 1 billion postmenopausal women on the planet.
Billion? Holy cow. Watch out,
Right?
everybody.
This is the age of the grandmama. Like grandmama's coming home, baby.
You're so
And
funny.
we're about to be flooded with maternal wisdom, feminine power. I think this is a really exciting time. And that's like a whole other area just because you brought up like the perimenopausal, postmenopausal, like that transition in time is when this flares up. ADHD will flare up for women. And it may have been masked really well, or it
Yeah.
may have kind of been like so low key on the spectrum that maybe it was considered something else, right? Or it just was swept under the rug. And then boom, that period happens. Like it's very interesting that as we're shifting into that time where women are really exploring what menopause is, even aren't they're like reopening up the science of menopause, kind of like and exploring deeper. We don't have the answers for this time period at all. It's a big mystery. So how do you feel for like women hearing this right now and wanting to come to you? Is that like, do you have like a large section of your audience for this like perimenopausal, postmenopausal woman who's going through these symptoms?
I have a large section, yeah, particularly the perimenopausal women. I don't, for whatever reason, I have a lot, I mean, I have a lot of clients, maybe that's my demographic. I'm in my 40s, I'm 46, and I tend to get a lot of women in their early 40s,
Hmm.
to like mid 50s, well, around basically perimenopause and beginning of menopause time. And I'm learning a lot myself. I speak a lot. I have a couple like hormone coaches who are people who are hormone coaches that I ask a lot of questions to, because it is a good portion of my population that I work with. That and the other, young mother, like new moms
Hmm.
I tend to get a lot of moms with kids under 5. My kids are, I have twins who are about to be 12 and another son who's
Wow.
about to be 10. And I feel like that has also, but the, 0 to 5 age moms, I mean, that's another time where your hormones, you just had babies and your hormones plus the stress of, even if your kids are amazing. Like I was very, very fortunate. We were just lucky, I guess. We had kids who were very good, like sleepers. Like, so I didn't have I all the extra nights of horribleness. But so I feel very fortunate. And even so,
Mhm.
my ADHD symptoms were like crazy postpartum. So I
Mhm.
think it's another time with hormones. So I just think you can't. I think there's not enough discount. There's not enough talking about that in the ADHD world, as well as just in general, of how much hormones affect things. I mean,
Right.
I I care about it and I pay attention to it. So I'm around a lot of people who do speak about it, but
Uh-huh.
I'm not sure that that's the given in like medicine and medical care.
Or even just knowing that there are so many different triggers for it,
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Exactly.
you know? Another area that I'm curious about is the whole like people want to address it holistically, people want to address it medically. Do you help with that entire spectrum? People who are like, I don't want to be on meds. I just want to kind of figure this out myself and manage it. Can you help me with that? Or people who are like, I need help. Like like I need extra help with that. How's that spectrum working with people there?
I do work with people both. I am a person who does not ever push people into meds. I don't believe my I've taken ADHD meds while I was burnt out and my symptoms were out of control and
Yeah.
I was hardly functioning well. I did take meds and they were useful. They're super useful. Like they're useful even if people don't have ADHD. That's why people sell them, sell them on the street.
Right.
But
Yep.
in college kids and stuff. But
Yep. I was one of them.
yeah.
Yep.
So um so I think, but like, I don't take, not that this is about me specifically, but I don't, now I don't need to take them. I have other, um, tools and abilities that work sometimes they still don't. I still have plenty of my, like, oops, I did that again. But, but my personal philosophy is do everything you can behaviorally, do all the things you can behaviorally, and if you still can't, if it's still kind of not enough, then check out meds if you want to. Why not? But if you never want to, I will never push you towards meds. And if you do want to, then as I said, I have a number of psychiatrists and nurse practitioners that I partner with that very often who I think are great and help people find the meds that work for them. Strangely, you would think that they don't all like work each, like Adderall versus Vyvanse versus Focalin versus whatever else there is now. I don't know at the moment, but different ones work for different people for whatever reason. So I have awesome providers I refer people to, and I don't refer people to unless they really want that. Because I don't think no one has to take med. There's not a one solution
Right.
thing. And
I
that's
think
the thing. Go ahead, sorry.
I was just gonna say, I think it's good for people to hear that too. It's like there's a whole spectrum of support,
Yes.
and then like learning about this thing, and then learning what triggers it, and then learning the systems that help you put in place, and probably even the boundaries you need to set up. Is boundaries a big topic in your work?
Oh, it's huge because the time management piece that when people come to me, that's the biggest piece they want is the time. Like no one comes to me like, I want to learn about the nervous system or I want to learn about, I mean, I think if they want that, they go to a breathwork person or nervous,
Yeah.
like they're looking for something else, right? They come to me looking for basically time management and organization. That's like, because that's what's making their life unmanageable. They don't want to hear necessarily about acceptance and shit. But even though that is the key, as I said earlier. But um, but in time management, it's not actually the time that's the issue. It's the not saying no to things. It's the boundaries. It's the obligation. You need obligation management, which means boundaries and saying no. And it's not the time
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
You're
It's
too
you.
committed. You don't have to be this. I say this a lot. Like, stop. You don't need to be you just have like two kids and you're little and you're working 90 hours a week or whatever. Like, you don't need to be the PTA president. Stop fucking volunteering
Yeah.
for shit. This is
Right.
that in another era. Like, it
Yeah.
doesn't stop volunteering for shit. You know what I mean? Like, doesn't mean
Amen.
anything. Like,
Yeah.
stop volunteering to take on extra projects at work. You don't need to be. I'm not saying don't work hard, like, I mean, I don't know what people's aspirations are.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to say be average, for people
Yeah.
who are high performers or
Right.
don't. But I also am saying like you only have so much energy
Yep.
and you don't need to be the PTA president in this era. And if you cut that shit out, stop doing that, your life, your time management will get better. I'm not saying it's perfect.
Hmm.
Mine comes and goes, mine ebbs and flows still, but it's better. It's way better. And
Hmm.
I'm not burnt out.
Yeah. I love you. And thank you for saying that permission slip to people, because we've just got really stacked schedules.
Yes,
And it's like still a bit competitive. It's almost like there's no white space. There's no
that's
nothing
right.
anymore.
Yes,
It's the weekend. We have to pack it with stuff to do and things to do. And I'm like, there's almost like a revolution of people just being like, no, no,
yes,
I don't want to go to that game. I don't want to go to that birthday party. And we're not going to that wedding. You know what I mean? Just kind of
yes.
like it's a bit of a
I love when I
revolution.
hear people like, I'm not going to the birthday party. Like,
Yeah.
don't. And the other piece to this is, again, and I realize not all your listeners or not all my clients have kids, but I think the parenting adds another layer, the momming. And I just may say, like, there's also this aspect, not when you have tiny little kids, but like my age kids and even younger, we started like they, and of course, this depends where you live. There's cultural aspects to this as well in terms of like societal culture of where you live. And but like let your kids do shit for themselves. That will also help your time management. Like my kids have been able to, I'm stupid shit, but like cook
Uh,
eggs,
yeah.
since they were 5. Like they like do like let them go to, we are in a fortunate they can go to the park by themselves.
Mhm.
I don't know if I would have felt different if they were girls versus boys. I have all boys.
Right.
But
Yeah.
like they've been going to the park by themselves all together, the three of them, since they were 6 and 8 or 7 and 5. Like I don't,
Yeah.
but and I'm not saying that's everybody's, there's everyone based on their own experiences in life may not feel secure about that. I'm not trying to be tone deaf to people's lives.
Yep.
And I'm saying maybe it's not go to the park by yourself, but stop doing everything for your kids. Like because that also frees, that's a time management thing. Again, I'm sorry, I don't know how I got on this tangent, but
Oh, I love it. I love it. I love it. I wild school. We homeschool. I mean, they're only
you
two.
do
They're 2 and 3. So, but like that other route, I kind of tried it for like a hot minute for like 8 weeks, and I pulled her out. I was like, nope, not for us, not for our family. But
wild school and nature school?
yeah, we go
Oh,
outside for
that's
a lot of the schooling, and we're
awesome.
part of like all these co-ops, and we meet up with people, and I
Oh,
get to
that's
be like, how
amazing.
are we feeling this week? How are we feeling this day? Okay, want to go to this? We'll go to Big Rock School, and there's 50 plus kids and a bunch of moms, and I get to talk to the moms, and the kids
That
are
is
running around.
awesome.
And then we go to the beach and they're looking up, barnacles and they're playing on frozen seawater and they're learning, it's just like so hands-on. And then, it also provides that ability to be like, oh, it's like a chill day or it's a chill week. I'm not pushing anyone out of the house. Like
That
when
is awesome.
we spend hours outside, and when these kids feel like it's going to be an in day, it's an in day, and I let them lounge and we
Oh,
chill.
that is awesome.
So like really paying attention to the mood of the house. But I don't allow any screens. Again, they're only 2 and 3, and I'm just like
Yeah,
not for the screen life
that
at
is
these stages.
amazing. We
But
were
yeah,
able to do that until about 8, and then COVID happened, and the school was like, "Here you go," and we were like, "Oh my God."
yeah, that
Because
was
that
out of people's hands though. You know what I
it
mean?
was, but I mean, it really set off. Yeah, that was unfortunate because I mean, I don't know how long we would have gotten to. And I just, you're right about, you mentioned it earlier about in today's society about the screens and the video, like
Mhm.
there's so many distractions and myself included. Like I get caught up scrolling my phone. I have to put on like, I have an app Forest that like closes my, so
Yes.
and I mean, I could undo it, but it's helpful
Mhm.
so that I don't, just because I do mindlessly pick up my phone. I have to
Yeah.
really be mindful in order to not get sucked in.
Yeah. Right. It's a slippery slope. Like so we give them they want to they are such hands-on kids. They want to do things. They want to be part of it. I give them spray bottles and rags in the morning and they go spray it out and clean the house. They want
Amazing.
to mop. They want to vacuum. They're up there baking with me. They're
Yeah.
making sourdough things with me. My 3-year-old can egg wash a pie. She'll sit there and make a pie with me and egg wash. Like they want to be in their hands-on. I mean, it's annoying AF, LOL. I'm not saying I'm like, you know, trying to like homestead over here, but it's a lot. But like already they can like identify a goose in flight and like lichen and moss outside and like count things and read things. And I'm like, we're not even trying. It's just like how they're learning really hands on. So
That is,
we're both entrepreneurs too, so it's easier for us to have this lifestyle than
yeah, yeah.
others. So I always leave that with an asterisk, like how am I pulling this off? We both went after our dreams and we both busted ass and we run our own businesses. And we basically both have our own schools. My husband runs a self-defense school in town.
Oh, cool.
Right, it's for Gracie Jiu Jitsu, down here in
Where
Fort
are
Worth.
you?
I
Are
live.
you, I don't know if you want to say that on air here, but
What'd you say? I'm in
I was
Rhode
gonna, where?
Rhode Island. We're in Rhode
Oh,
Island.
okay, cool.
But I'm from JP. I'm from Jamaica Plain.
Oh, no kidding.
Yes.
Okay.
So like I came down here, but no one knows about Rhode Island unless you come down here.
Well, I was in what, Mystic, Connecticut, or my
Oh,
parents live in
yes.
Mystic, Connecticut. Grew up in town near there. And um, so we always, we go through Rhode Island, of
Yep.
course, and we were right near Westerly and blah, blah, blah. I'm
Oh,
familiar.
the
Rhode
beach.
Island's actually a great state. I used to go to Misquamicut.
Yes. Oh, baby, the beaches. I mean, it is cold here today on 2/2, but here we are.
Here we are.
Tangent. This is what I mean.
Yes.
Okay, wait.
Sorry, everyone.
No, no, we are not apologizing, Sherry.
Thank you.
This is who we are.
Yeah.
Um, what was I gonna say about you would really like, I know I'm like talking too much here, but here we are.
No, no, I love this. It's
Because
like
you were
what we're
talking about the app. Did you say it was the Forest app?
Forest, yeah. It's
Oh,
it's an app that basically closes your other apps so that when you go to mindlessly pick up your phone and you go to scroll Facebook, I'm using that because that's probably the most social media.
mhm.
It's like blocks it, so you can unblock it,
Yep.
but then you're like, oh wait, right, I set that thing, so I don't do this. So I find it to be very useful.
Yes, that's why I wanted you to say that again. And I'm going to add that as a tool to my currently right now. I just kicked off it's called Mind Your Business, a 28-day distraction detox.
That's awesome.
Right? Right?
Yeah.
Because I'm just like in the work I do, I'm here to help women with their purpose, with their businesses, with these creations coming to them. Some want to write a book, some want to run a business, some have a nonprofit they want to launch. I'm like, honey, we need to focus first. Like, we need to get clear about everywhere our pure source energy is flowing to, being sucked out of us. And then we're drained, we're exhausted, we have no energy for this and that. We got to get clear about our distractions. So I created and cultivated this like 28-day meticulous experience where you just get emailed a new focus every day. And I make
Love
it
that.
free for people, right? And it gets deep, like it builds and builds and builds on itself. But essentially, you're becoming very aware of your behaviors, making
Yes.
lists of where your attention's going, organizing things out. So it goes through clarity, it goes through exploration, like exploring yourself and
Oh,
what
that's very cool.
creation means to you. We go through alignment and then action.
Oh, how cool.
So
I
yeah,
will like to join your next one. That's very cool.
cool, right? So I'm just
Yeah.
like, oh, this is so. And then when you were saying that, so now that we're on distractions, how much of that is an issue for people with ADHD? I mean, it's an issue for everyone, I feel like.
Yes, yes. But I
No?
mean, that's kind of the crux. Like when people think ADHD, that's what people think, right? Like attention. And one thing that I love by the way, nothing I say about ADHD is anything I made up. It's all stuff that I've learned and I'm great at teaching and passing things on. I am
Right.
not like a original. I don't know how many people actually come up with original thoughts anyway, but I am not an original thought. But I'm a great I will teach, incorporate, and pass it. I mean, I learn, incorporate, and pass it on. I'm a lifelong learner. I love learning, but so I am not making this up myself. But I love when the collective they, somebody says. I try to give credit where credit's due, but I don't remember where I heard this. Is ADHD is not. It's named wrong, right?
Mhm.
It's not a lack of attention.
Mhm.
It's a deficit of the attention. It's too much attention. It's
Right.
attention to this and this and this. And
Yeah.
as to your point, a lack of like clear focus and a lack of a distraction of like because there's just too much attention. So I think it's
I
interesting.
love that.
Yeah, right?
Right. Right. It's like flip the script on that.
Yeah, it's like you just don't know how to clearly focus your attention. You're distracted by everything, and I get that. I mean, I totally get that. That's
Oh,
me.
yes. Okay. Let me shift over to one of my other questions. LOL.
Ooh.
So you have made this is your full-time work and this is what you do. I like to ask and talk about the reality of being an entrepreneur, running your own business, in your case, like running a practice, right?
Yeah.
What were some of the blocks that you faced along the way to do this?
So, well, let me think, because that's a great question. So I've gone into this full time. I was doing this part time for a long time. I was gone into it full time about a year ago, a little over a year ago. Um, and so in the full time realm, I think the biggest blocks have been, um, it have been a lack of focus and trying to do too much
Mhm.
all at once. Like I want it now, whether that's my personality or whether that's or
Mhm.
that's ADHD or both. Or I mean, I think it's probably common even without ADHD. Like I lack of consistency has been, and that is a thing that many people, not all, but many people with ADHD struggle with. My husband has ADHD and he's very consistent. He's like good. He's trained himself. And I think you can
Yeah.
train yourself,
Yeah.
but training yourself, you have to be, it's like self-discipline is a practice,
Yeah.
right? Or like consistency is a practice, and it's the willingness to do less and to focus on one thing. And that's been for me that personally, that's been my biggest blocker is like that and the distraction of like I have this idea, then I have that idea, then I have that idea, and I have trouble just zone like complete one idea
Mhm.
before moving on to the next idea. And that's been a struggle I've had for a long time. But if you take yourself into your business,
Yeah.
and so it's not like I'm going to suddenly not do that in my business when
Mhm.
I've done that in my life for 25, 30 years. I'm 46, but I don't remember this like affecting me when I was young somehow.
I love how you brought up that you've done it part-time and then went full-time. Another theme, I think I talked about this on every single interview
Oh,
with
really?
every woman I've talked on, was that you have to
Interesting.
build the boat to get to that. Like, I think it's like real. If you can't, again, if you don't have the discipline and the focus to get yourself to a structured place where you will be able to work for yourself, most likely at home or whatever environment. Like if you're used to receiving direction, or if you're used to receiving a client load that is given to you by a company you work for, it's going to be very different when you're out there looking for them on your own, right? And
Yeah.
getting your own clients and building up your
Yeah.
own clientele. That is a
And I'm
different
not gonna lie, sometimes I'm like, I miss that. Like sometimes I don't. Like the flexibility, the ability to bring my kids to their I mean, we're not even over scheduled people. Like my kids do like one activity per
Mhm,
season. Or
mhm.
I guess they do two. They do jujitsu, speaking of. And
Yes, that's what my husband runs. Yes. That's
oh, yeah,
awesome.
yeah. So they do jujitsu in Watertown at Kimura, and shout out to them because they're an amazing place.
Yeah.
Um, and we're in Newton, and I saw a new Gracie just opened here in Newton.
Oh, I think he's David Chan. We're friends with all the Boston ones. He's in Dedham.
Oh,
He's in
interesting.
Quincy, and I'll
Oh,
have to check and see who runs the Newton one.
yeah.
We run the only Rhode Island one for Gracie.
Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Oh, okay, that's fun. So yeah, so they've been doing that a couple of years. So they do that, and then one sport, like they do flag football. We skis, but but anyway, my point is the flexibility with to just be able to be there and transport people and like has been awesome, amazing. That's like the best thing I could, my scheduling, my own. But I will say like the marketing, marketing and like it's very overwhelming. I find it very overwhelming, but I'm not at a point where I have where I have an ability to just like I would I'm all about outsourcing. Like the more I can outsource, I think that that isn't in my zone of genius or whatever is I'm all like if you can do it, do like in my opinion, like if you but I'm not at a place and whatever. We had some financial changes in our family. I won't get into that whole thing, but that is I'm not in a place where I can just outsource all I would like to outsource.
Right. Yeah.
And that is hard. Like I'm speaking, I'm doing like yesterday I was doing I collaborated with this awesome woman, Rachel Lee, in a breath work
Mm.
for around how ADHD and breath work, how the breath work can nervous. She's a breath work practitioner in ice bath. She has a place called Ice Bath Boston. And anyway, I was
Well,
collaborating with her and I really just didn't have the bandwidth to like we had people but I didn't have the bandwidth to like market as much as I really needed and wanted to get the kind of turnout that I was hoping to and I felt badly but I just and I'm like I find that, I'm sorry, I'm going on and on about these
Oh,
details.
yeah.
I
I love it.
find it, I just, that I find is a block for me
Yeah.
is the trying to, that stuff that I miss not having someone be like, here you go, see these people do
Right.
this thing,
Yes.
and somebody else does this thing and this piece, and
Yeah.
that's
No,
the hard
um,
part of
I
solopreneurship.
I love the realness of this, right? When we talk about like, it sounds so great, like it sounds so magical and so freeing, right? But you basically, I giggle all the time, like with my clients, you want the best self-help development program, run your own business. Launch and run your own business. You'll face every block, every fear, every
Oh,
bullshit
and that's so
story,
true.
all your baggage, all your crap. You're just gonna face it. You're gonna face it, you're gonna deal with it or not. You know what I mean? You're gonna overcome it or not. And
Right.
this is also like we wear a million hats, and I don't people realize how many hats one wears
Yeah.
when you're
Yeah.
out there doing it. And I would love to know what your human design is too, because like for some of us, depending on what design you are, also it's like you may be great at initiating ideas, but also like ADHD is this too, like the follow through on that idea, or when you realize all the parts included on that great idea, you're like, oh, you may burn out, you may run out of
Yeah.
steam. Like I'm a generator and it's like I can like get really behind something, but then if I don't have the energy for a
Yeah.
project, it ain't happening.
I'm looking because I do know my human design, but I
Yeah, yeah,
forgot.
yeah. Look it up, look it up, look it up. Because like, for anyone hearing that too, it's like finding out like,
I'm
and
a generator also.
of course you're a generator, right? Of course you're right. And
And
we're
you're right,
meant
I
to,
think that's right. Like just ideas. I have fucking a
yep.
million ideas.
Yep, and we have the energy for it, but the minute you don't have energy for it, you'll get like resentful
Yes.
and
Yes.
frustrated for
Yes.
or
And
if
it's
you
just
don't have
done.
energy to
I
do it.
can't do anything at that point. Like, yeah. And that's so interesting.
Right?
Yeah.
And then like some others, like of the other designs, they're more like they're good at initiating jobs or initiating experiences, events, and things like that. But then they do need a team of people around them to help make it happen. So again, it's just one of those things where when you feel validated, when
Yeah.
you realize this, you read those reports, you're like, oh my God, this is me.
Yes.
Oh my God. Okay. Here we are on I don't know, side vent 782 on this call. I love this call, everyone, and I know our readers do too. Okay, let's wrap this up with what's next for you? Do you have a goal or a vision in mind? Are you working on a project right now? What's next level look like for Sherri?
Well, my two things. One is expanding this group program. I can't speak enough to, I love doing the one-to-one work and I'm happy to, and it's actually more profitable as well. However, I can't speak enough to how much I value and think there's just such use and need for women together in groups. It's just so validating, and to be other with women who get it, and it's just there's this level of compassion for one another, for ourselves in the context of a group. So I'm very excited about this group. This next it's group for entrepreneurial ADHD entrepreneurial and
Yeah.
executive women, and I'm super excited about growing that, and I'm hoping to, my plans and intentions and dreams are to grow it into a really large
Yeah.
thing. The other pieces, I decided this like 2025 year was I was going to become quote unquote a speaker. And
Yeah.
so I'm excited about, I really enjoy, just like I said, passing on information. And so this is part of it. So I was excited to see your post, but I am, I thought to myself, okay, I want to become a speaker. How do I do that? Well, then I need to speak. So I've been finding different. I'm speaking in an event on the 10th at Davio's in Braintree.
Cool.
It's about mental health for peak performance, again for entrepreneurial and executive women, like etc. That's just one. And I spoke at this thing yesterday about the ADHD and
Good for you.
manipulation of the nervous system, and so it's fun, but I really love, like we were talking before we started about connecting and interact and like
Mhm.
connecting women to each other and just how much joy we both get out of this, like
Yes.
these conversations. And so that's my other big plans.
I love hearing about all this, and I'm excited to stay in touch with you and follow along on your journey. We'll make sure that the links you give me go to that group thing, or like more information
Oh,
about how
very
people
good.
can sign up for that group, along
Yeah.
with whatever else you want to send them.
Thank you. I will do.
Yes. And we also like to put social media links in, but if you want to tell them, where can they find you online?
Oh, sure. My biggest two places are really Facebook and Instagram, and not Instagram. That was a complete lie. That was a complete. I don't even know why I said. I was gonna say I'm not that big on Instagram. I do have an Instagram account, and it's at Next Gen Therapist, but I don't really hardly ever post on there, and I don't like Instagram very much. For it's very distracting. And it's not good I don't feel good after I use it. So, though I do, I'm not gonna lie and say I don't ever get caught in the scroll,
Yeah.
but it's
Yeah.
so I'm really going off on that. So I have a new YouTube channel that's
Cool.
also at Next Gen Therapist. I'll put that in the links in the show notes. And LinkedIn is probably those are the LinkedIn and Facebook. YouTube, LinkedIn, and Facebook. Is the answer to your question that just took me 5 minutes.
Hey, you're in the right place. It's been an awesome conversation. I feel like we covered so many topics,
Yes.
and they will be able to come find you in those links and continue on with you. So thank you so much for being on the show
Thank
today.
you. It's so fun.
This was so much fun, and we'll have to hear from you. Let's catch up. You and I will stay in touch, and then maybe we have you on the show next year and we see your growth and what's happened and all the other pots you have your hands in as we do.
I love that, as we do.
Oh, thank you for educating our audience
Oh,
tonight,
thank you.
and I'm so excited to see how this helps women
Oh,
in the
thank
world.
you.
Okay, thank you to all our listeners, and we will see you for our next episode. Bye.